Minister for Finance Prakash Charan Mahat unveiled a budget of 1,751.31 billion rupees for the upcoming fiscal year 2023-24 at the joint meeting of the Federal Parliament yesterday, prioritizing education, agriculture and tourism. The government has allocated the highest portion of the budget of 197 billion rupees to the Ministry of Education. The government has targeted an economic growth rate of 6% and has an aim of keeping inflation within 6.5%. Good morning, I'm Abhyuday Shrestha, and these are the headlines of the hour. Minister for Finance Prakash Charan Mahat unveils a budget of 1.751 trillion rupees for the upcoming fiscal year, which is 42 billion rupees less than the current budget. Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal's 4-day visit to India starts from tomorrow. Industrialists and businesspersons suggest the Prime Minister to focus on facilitating import-export and attracting investment. Around 25 NATO peacekeeping soldiers defending 3 town halls in northern Kosovo injured in clashes with Serb protesters. Serbia's president puts the army on the highest level of combat alert. And host Malaysia give Nepal a target of 97 runs in the second match of the 5-match Women's T20 International Series. Nepal trailed the series 1-0. The government made public a budget of 1,751.31 billion rupees for the upcoming fiscal year 2023-24 at the joint meeting of the Federal Parliament yesterday. The budget is 2.37% or 42 billion rupees less than the current budget. A budget of 1.793 trillion rupees was appropriated for the current fiscal year. However, this budget is 16.37% higher than the budget reduced by the government 4 months ago due to financial slump. The government has informed that the economic growth rate would be 6% and inflation would be limited to 6.5%. The government has shut down 20 public corporations to cut down on current expenses. Finance Minister Mahat informed that all types of encouragement allowances and additional allowances have been scrapped to lower expenses. The Finance Minister also said that the government would not purchase new vehicles and construct new buildings during the next fiscal year. The government has also decreased the development budget to 302.07 billion rupees. The development budget was 380 billion rupees last year. Finance Minister Mahat also informed that the budget would be implemented using the collected revenue of 1.248 trillion rupees. As the revenue collection target was met during the current fiscal year, the government will be lowering the target for the upcoming fiscal year. The government had set the revenue collection target at 1.448 trillion rupees for the current fiscal year. The government has also lowered the target for foreign aid. The foreign aid target for the current fiscal year was 55 billion rupees, while the target for the upcoming fiscal year has been set at 49 billion rupees. The government has allocated the highest portion of the budget of 197 billion rupees to the Ministry of Education. However, the budget for the Ministry of Fiscal Infrastructure and Ministry of Energy has been reduced. Meanwhile, the disputed MP's Development Fund, which was scrapped in the fiscal year 2021-22 by then Finance Minister Vishnu Paudel, has been revived in the upcoming budget. Meanwhile, under the Fiscal Equalization Grant, the government has allocated 58.67 billion rupees for the provinces and 87.35 billion rupees for the local levels. The government has also allocated 35.72 billion rupees in conditional grant for the provinces and 191.89 billion rupees for the local levels. Towards contemporary grant, the government has allocated 6.22 billion rupees for the provinces and 7.05 billion rupees for the local levels. Meanwhile, 4.46 billion rupees has been allocated for provinces in special grants, while 8.73 billion rupees has been set aside for the local levels. The government expects the revenue sharing to figure at 173.92 billion rupees to the provinces and the local levels. The budget has allocated 197 billion rupees for education, 131 billion rupees for fiscal infrastructures, and 83.99 billion rupees to the health sector. Likewise, 58.98 billion rupees has been allocated for the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development, and 11.96 billion rupees for the tourism sector. The government is to provide 30 billion rupees in subsidies to the farmers for chemical fertilizers. The budget has also declared of conducting feasibility study for medicinal use of marijuana. 1% of the total capital budget has been allocated for research and innovation. The government has also declared of prioritizing capital, technology, experience, and skills of non-resident Nepalese. Having embraced the policy of scrapping a total of 20 entities, the government has also scrapped all forms of incentives. The government has decided to brand the water from the mountains and has plans to export gravels and stones. Meanwhile, if a contract is not signed for the National Pride projects within 9 months, the agreement will be scrapped. Finance Minister Mahat has declared of reviving the national economy by making policy and procedural improvements. The government has prioritized issues of public concerns, including social security, education, and health. The government has allocated 197.29 billion rupees for education and 83.99 billion rupees for health for the upcoming fiscal year. The budget allocated for health for the upcoming fiscal year is relatively less than the amount allocated for the ongoing fiscal year. The government has prioritized upgrading the quality of community education and life skills. Retaining children at schools has been prioritized alongside agriculture-related practical education. Having announced ensuring the management of the Child Development Center, the government has also prioritized teaching and learning in mother tongue languages. The government is to restructure the University Grant Commission, ensure research-oriented higher education, and prioritize technical education as well. The budget has allocated 83.99 billion rupees for the health sector. A total of 98 kinds of medicines and vaccines along with basic health services are to be provided for free. All federal hospitals are to make arrangements for kidney transplant, while the budget has stressed on making Nepal a tuberculosis-free country. The government aims to complete the construction of basic hospitals at 322 local levels. The budget announcement has also declared of expanding the scope of social security by ensuring the security of women, children, and senior citizens. The budget has allocated 157.73 billion rupees for the Social Security program. Meanwhile, the customs and excise duty on electric vehicles on 50 to 100 kilowatt capacity have been increased in the upcoming budget. The customs and excise duty of 10% was being applied to these vehicles. Now, 5% customs tax and 10% excise duty will be applied on these electric vehicles. Meanwhile, the customs and excise duty on electric vehicles of 100 to 200 kilowatt capacity have been lowered from 30% to 20%. Likewise, the excise duty on limestone and stones used in the construction of buildings has been increased from 10% to 15%. However, the customs tax on chemically refined sugar has been set at 30%, lowering it by 10%. Meanwhile, the government has increased the excise duty on various brands of liquor by 5 to 7 rupees. Likewise, the excise duty on unfiltered cigarettes has also gone up slightly. In our public voice segment, we had asked people in several provinces, how can the government ensure effective implementation of its budget commitments? Let's take a look at what they had to say.
Public voice.
आर्थिक वर्षको अन्त्यमा आएर मात्र काम गर्ने मानसिकता हट्नुपर्छ।
सम्बन्धित निकायले समयमै नै कार्ययोजना बनाएर कार्यान्वयन गर्नुपर्छ।
राज्य पक्ष अलिकति संवेदनशील हुनु जरुरी छ।
तिनै तहका सरकारहरू मिलेर अगाडि बढ्नुपर्छ।
कार्ययोजना बनाएर कार्यान्वयनमा विशेष ध्यान दिनुपर्छ।
आर्थिक वर्षको अन्तिमतिर मात्रै त्यस बजेटलाई लागू गर्ने हो भने त्यो सफल हुन सक्दैन।
नेतामा इमानदारीता हुनु पर्यो।
जनताको चाहिँ मागलाई सम्झन हुनुपर्छ।
सही काम गर्नको निमित्त चाहिँ त्यहाँ चाहिँ सबैको चाहिँ निगरानी हुन आवश्यक देखिन्छ।
अनियमितता नगरिकन नियमपूर्वक काम गर्नुभयो भने बजेटको कार्यान्वयन हुन्छ।
असर्मसन्तोषमा पुग्न नपर्ने चाहिँ एउटा खालको नीतिगत निर्णय र बाध्यकारी कानुन बनाइयो भने पनि बजेट कार्यान्वयन हुन्छ।
हड्सार हुनु भएन। यथार्थ बजेट आउनु पर्यो र त्यो बजेट चाहिँ फिल्डमा पुग्नु पर्यो।
कुन खर्चमा कति बजेट विनियोजित गर्ने भन्ने कुरामा चाहिँ अलिकति ध्यानपूर्वक रूपमा बजेटलाई कार्यान्वयन गर्न सके।
We'll take a short break here. We have more news coming up. Welcome back. Prime Minister Pushpakamal Dahal informed the Parliament yesterday about his India visit, which begins from tomorrow. Premier Dahal informed the Parliament that energy, irrigation, flood control, air routes, unified checkpoints, among other issues, would be prioritized during his 4-day visit to India. Prime Minister Dahal also said that a new freight agreement would be inked. Dahal also informed the Parliament that he would be meeting Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, among other high-ranking leaders, during the visit. Prime Minister Dahal will be heading to New Delhi tomorrow, leading the Nepali delegation. Meanwhile, industrialists and business persons from eastern Nepal have suggested the Prime Minister to focus on facilitating import-export and attracting Indian investment during his upcoming visit to India. They have suggested Prime Minister Pushpakamal Dahal to hold talks with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi regarding India facilitating the export of Nepali goods that have been certified for standard by Nepali laboratories. Industrialists and business persons have also advised Premier Dahal to sign an agreement to export Nepal's excess electricity to Bangladesh and India. As industries with Indian investment in Nepal have been generating good profit, the industrialists and business persons also gave suggestions to Prime Minister Dahal to focus on attracting more Indian investment. It's time now for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
Here's the question: why have public expectations not been met even after 15 years of republicanism? Your options are A, irresponsible leadership, B, traditional mindset, and C, requires patience. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B, or C, and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. And it's time now for the international update. Around 25 NATO peacekeeping soldiers defending 3 town halls in northern Kosovo were injured in clashes with Serb protesters yesterday, while Serbian President Alexander Vučić put the army on the highest level of combat alert. The NATO-led peacekeeping mission to Kosovo, KFOR, condemned the violence. Serbian President Vučić said that 52 Serbs were injured, 3 of them seriously. Kosovo President Vjosa Osmani accused Serbian counterpart Vučić of destabilizing Kosovo. Vučić also accused Kosovo Prime Minister Albin Kurti of creating tensions. He called on Serbs in Kosovo to avoid clashes with NATO soldiers. The tense situation developed after ethnic Albanian mayors took office in northern Kosovo's Serb-majority area. After elections, the Serbs boycotted a move that led the U.S. and its allies to rebuke Pristina on Friday. Serbs, who comprise a majority in Kosovo's north, have never accepted its 2008 declaration of independence from Serbia and still see Belgrade as their capital, more than 2 decades after the Kosovo-Albanian uprising against repressive Serbian rule. Serbs demand that the Kosovo government remove ethnic Albanian mayors from town halls and allow local administrations financed by Belgrade resume their work. We have more news coming up, but right now it's time for another short break. Welcome back. It's time now for the sports news.
Sports news.
Hosts Malaysia have given Nepal a victory target of 97 runs in the second match of the 5-match Women's T20 International Series. In the match being played at the UKM Cricket Oval in Bangi, Malaysia, the hosts are batting first after winning the toss and posted a total of 96 runs in the allotted 20 overs, losing 5 wickets. Skipper Mas Alisa top scored for Malaysia with 28 runs off 34 balls, hitting 2 fours. Openers Winifred Dure Singham and Wan Julia also contributed 20 runs each to Malaysia's total, while Aina Hamniza Hashim added 14. None of the other Malaysian bowlers were able to score in double digits. Skipper Rubina Chetri was the pick of the Nepali bowlers, grabbing 2 wickets. Kavita Kumar and Indu Burma also claimed a wicket each for Nepal. Chasing a victory target of 97 runs, Nepal have scored 79 runs, losing 2 wickets in 14.5 overs, according to a recent update. Nepal are trailing the 5-match series after losing yesterday's match by 5 wickets. 23rd round of matches of the Martyrs Memorial A Division League will kick off today. Today's first match features a clash between Jaulakal Youth Club and Tribhuvan Army Club. The match is scheduled to start at 3 p.m. at the Dasrat Stadium in Tripureshwar. Jaulakal are in the third spot of the points table with 34 points, while Tribhuvan Army are fourth with 30 points. In another match today, Church Boys United are facing APF Club in the match scheduled for 6 p.m. kickoff at the Dasrat Stadium. Church Boys lead the league table with 38 points, while APF are in the 9th spot of the points table with 29 points. And it's time now for the weather update. That's all for the moment. We will now take our viewers to the UKM Cricket Oval in Bangui, Malaysia for the live coverage of the second match of the 5-match series between Nepal and Malaysia.